And if you can't see the pictures, if you could just wait, once I'm done reading the page, I will hold it out further. I went to sleep with gum in my mouth, and now there's gum in my hair. And when I got out of bed this morning, I tripped on the skateboard, and by mistake, I dropped my sweater in the sink while the water was running, and I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. So already, Alexander's not even out of his room yet, and he's already having issues. So let's talk about this first cause and effect. I wrote down that the effect is that Alexander has gum in his hair. What caused him to get gum in his hair? It didn't just magically appear there. Why does he have gum in his hair, Ruby? Okay, well, do you think he was eating, or do you think he just left it in his mouth? Yeah, let's go back and look at that story detail. It says, I went to sleep with gum in my mouth, and now there's gum in my hair. So I'm going to write an A instead of his full name. Alexander went to sleep with gum in his mouth. Thanks to those teammates who are sitting so quietly while I fill out this story detail. So because he fell asleep with gum in his mouth, he now has gum in his hair. Elliot, if you can put that pass on my desk and then come to the carpet very quickly, that would be great. I know you just checked in, but you're missing out on some important stuff. Okay, so here's the picture for that one. So here's how Alexander is feeling so far. All right, let's see what happens next. Maybe his day will get better, I'm not sure. At breakfast, Anthony found a Corvette Stingray car kit in his breakfast cereal. And Nick found a junior undercover agent code ring in his breakfast cereal box. But in my breakfast cereal box, all I found was breakfast cereal. And then on this page, he says, I think I'll move to Australia. Why does he want to move to Australia? So far, he had a rough morning in his room. He's having a rough morning at breakfast because his brothers found these cool toys and he found nothing. Why? What's the cause of him wanting to move to Australia? David, why do you think he wants to move to Australia? Yeah, Alexander is having problems, right? So Alexander is probably thinking to himself, hey, if I can get out of here, maybe my problems will go away. So now why didn't he get picked Australia? Why didn't he just say, oh, I think I'll go next door? Do you think he wants to be close to his problems or really far away from his problems? Yeah, I think he wants to be really far away. Real quick, make sure you're on your bottoms. That way everybody can see and you're not blocking anyone behind you. Thank you. In the carpool, Mrs. Gibson let Becky have a seat by the window. Audrey and Elliot got seats by the window too. I said I was being scrunched. I said I was being smushed. I said if I don't get a seat by the window, I'm going to be car sick. No one even answered. I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. Okay, so Alexander's sitting in the middle, and he's like, raise your hand if you've ever been squished in the middle seat. Oh, my brothers always squish me. It's awful. So right now, Alexander's sitting in the middle seat. What does he say is going to happen if he stays there? What is he telling the people in the car? Mrs. Gibson and his other friends? What does he think is going to happen if he stays there? Daniel. He says, I will get car sick if I stay in the middle seat and I don't have a window. Oh my gracious. We'll have to see if that really happens or not. I think he might be being a little bit dramatic. What do you think? Yeah, because he's just having such a bad day. Okay, so let's see what happens. At school, Mrs. Dickens liked Paul's picture of the sailboat better than my picture of an invisible castle. At singing time, she said I sang too loud. At counting time, she said I left out 16. Who needs 16? I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. Raise your hand if you think his day's getting any better at school. I don't think so either. I agree. So far, is he like, is his teacher like helping boost his spirits and make him feel better? No, things just keep going wrong, right? Things just keep going wrong. So let's see what happens next. I could tell Paul said I wasn't his best friend anymore. He said that Philip Parker was his best friend, and that Albert was his next best friend, and that I was only his third best friend. I hope you sit on a tack, I said to Paul. I hope the next time you get a double-decker strawberry ice cream cone, the ice cream part falls off the cone part and it lands in Australia. Ooh, is Alexander being very nice to other people?
No.
No. Sometimes it's really hard if you're having a bad day to like be nice to other people, isn't it? You kind of, your negative feelings can sometimes affect others. Okay, here they are in the lunchroom. Let's see what happens here. There were 2 cupcakes in Philip Parker's lunch bag. And Albert got a Hershey bar with almonds. And Paul's mother gave him a piece of jelly roll that had little coconut sprinkles on the top. Guess whose mother forgot to put in dessert? It was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad
Day.
So I have a question. So far, he had a bad day in the morning with his brothers, and he had a bad day in the car during carpool. If y'all can look up here at the book with me real quick, we're about to turn and talk to a neighbor. I want to know what I haven't given you the question yet. Bodies are still. Raphael, bodies are still. Thank you. If this was your friend, if Alexander was your friend, and maybe you were Philip Parker, or you were Albert, or you were one of these kids hanging out with him on the playground, I want you to think for about 10 seconds, what is something you could do to help his day get better? Right now, Ruby D, a lot of his friends are not helping his day get any better. So everybody think for about 10 seconds. What could you do if you were a friend of his who knew he was having a bad day? If you knew he was having a bad day, what is something you could do as his friend to help? When you get your idea, put up a quiet thumb up in case people don't do this. You can put it lower. I can keep my I'm going to give you 5 more seconds to write. What could you do if this was your friend who was having a horrible, terrible, no good, very bad day? Okay, Sandra, Bill. In a second, we are going to turn and talk to your neighbor. Ruby D, if you could sit and crisscross, that way you're ready to turn and talk to your neighbor. When you turn to talk, there's no need to look around and pick your neighbor. You're just going to talk to somebody who's on the road. There will be one person who does not have a partner because Angela checked out this morning. So if that person is you, if you could just quietly raise your hand, I will either put you with a pair or I will act as your partner. Timmy, when we turn to talk to a neighbor, we should be in crisscross. And how should we be sitting? Should we sit really far away from them so we have to use a loud voice, or should we be close to them? Close to them. On the count of 3, Victoria and Raphael, we've not yet turned. I'm going to ask you to turn to your neighbor. Do not start talking, so then we can do paper, rock, scissors to decide who's going to go first. Remember, if you are the person without a partner, no, don't freak out. Just raise your hand, and I will either be your partner or I will put you with a group. Please turn to your partner in 3, 2, 1, 0. Raise your hand if you do not have a partner. Mintuan and Daniel, you need to be partners. Marcos, if you come up here, you may sit with Elias, Ruby, and I, and we will talk in a group. Who can remind me, what are we going to do to decide who talks first? Is it going to be the person who gets words out of their mouth first? How do we do it so that we're respectful and everybody gets a chance? Genesis, what are we going to do? We're going to do paper, rock, scissors. If you win paper, rock, scissors, you get to talk first. If you do not win, no big deal. You will get a chance to talk. When you hear me say 3, 2, 1, switch, the first person talking stops and the next person will go. Timmy, let's say you and Myra tie paper, rock, scissors 2 times. One of you just needs to decide, hey, it's okay, I'll go second, and then you guys can move on. All right, when all bodies are still, I'll tell you to start. You may start.
Paper, rock, scissors.
Marcus, not very ready.
Paper, rock, scissors. I don't know you. I heard it say.